Hi, Madeline here from Sonic Bloom. This time I'm gonna make a tutorial video about something that was requested, and the request was, please make a lesson about smoothly changing the tone of a note from low to high exactly smoothly without jumps. I mean a long note, for example 8 bars. Alright, let's get started. So this technically is possible with any of the live instruments and also with a lot of plug-in instruments that you might have in Ableton Live. The only instruments that are not as suitable are electric and collision. We're actually going to start off with the instruments that everyone should have, so that is drift and also simpler. So I'm going to just do a double click and add drift as a preset and a default preset, and then I'm going to do a double click to add a clip, and we're going to make it 8 bars long as requested, and I'm going to add a C3, make this legato, and then we're going to go into envelopes, and pitch bend is already selected by default. And I'm going to drag this all the way down, and at the end I'm going to drag this all the way up. Right, and this is basically how we can make it work with every instrument. So all you need to do is use pitch bend. The note, of course, is up to you. I'm just going to do it with C3 with every single one. And you can also make the clip shorter or longer. So I could, for example, just go here and say, okay, I want it 16 bars long or 32 or whatever. That doesn't matter. I'm going to stick with 8 bars. So it's not too long, and that was what was requested as well. So what we have to make sure that we set as well is the pitch bend range. So here in drift, you can see the pitch bend range by default is set to 2 semitones, and it goes up to 12. That differs for the different instruments. The lowest is 5 up to 48 semitones. So depending on how much of a rising note and for what length particularly as well, you might want different instruments might be more suitable or not. And then one important thing is also the envelope for the amplitude. So for example here, we could set the attack to 0, so it starts right away, so we have a continuous volume from the beginning. If you want to slowly increase the volume, you could increase the setting for attack as needed. Then I'm going to set decay all the way up and sustain as well. And that's basically the same for all the instruments as well. And yeah, then we can just try it. So as you can hear, it actually works. One consideration is also if you wanted to lead into another part, which is what you will likely want to do, is you should consider what the pitch bend range is that you set it to. So 12 semitones is an octave, so that will likely work quite well. Then of course you can technically use any drift preset as well, as long as the amplitude envelope is set correctly. So if you have an amplitude that has a short decay and a short sustain, then that's not going to be suitable obviously, but otherwise any preset could work. You could also make some changes, like you could add more modulation here on all the different parts as well. And for example, just setting it to mono makes it quite strong if I set it to 100%. And for simpler, you're going to have to make sure that you use a preset that either uses a very long sample, that sustains really well, or that is looped. And in this case, we don't actually have a setting for the pitch bend, and the pitch bend by default that you can't change is 5 semitones. So I'm just gonna play it now with the same clip. So that works. Of course, you don't have as much of a rising feeling because it's just 5 semitones that it goes up, but there's a little trick that you can use that only works with simpler and sampler, and that is by adding the expression control, and then we can use pitch bend as the source. You can increase the steps to say 28 and then click on map. And then we're going to have to go to controls and click on transpose. So as you can see, that increases the pitch bending that is applied. And as I said, the same works for sampler as well. If you use it with any of the synth instruments in Ableton Live, you will not get the smooth, continuous tone rising up or dropping down. Of course, you can do the same thing as well if you wanted to have a continuously falling tone. In this case, you would only reverse the pitch bend setting. So with analog, you have the pitch bend range here. So it's set to 2 semitones by default, and it goes up to 12. And of course you can, tweak all the presets as well to your liking so that you get the sound you want. Or you start with a preset and just make sure that the ADSR envelope for the amplitude is suitable. We're going to go to operator now. And here in this case, we're going to have to click on this panel down below here where it's time, tone and volume. And then we can see that the pitch bend can be set up to 24 semitones. And you can hear that the rising is quite a bit more. So for example, operator, as you can hear, would be suitable also for longer clips where you want to create a continuously rising note over a longer period of bars. Then with sampler, so here you can see that it's actually a looped one, and that's why it will work. And then we can go to MIDI, and here you got the pitch bend range, and it's set to 2 by default as well, and we can raise it up to 24 as well. Then we've got tension, and in tension we have to go to filter global, and then here you can see the pitch bend range. Again, 2 by default, goes up to 12 in this case. So at least by default, not necessarily the most suitable in my opinion, because you do have a kind of like a decrease in volume over time. So you might rather want to have it the opposite, that you slowly increase the volume instead of the opposites to create the tension you want, or the suspense. Then we've got Wavetable, and in Wavetable we're gonna have to go to MIDI here, and then you can see under pitch we're gonna have to find pitch bend, and we're just gonna set it to the maximum, which in this case is even 48 semitones. So this is a really good instrument to use for very long continuous rising notes. You can also turn on oscillator too. And you can hear that it starts from very low. And of course this is just with the most basic sine wave. You can of course use all kinds of presets for this. So with Meld we actually have two ways how we can create this, which is really cool. One is the pitch bend method that I've showed you with all the other instruments, and if we want to do this we just have to, well, the easiest is to basically unfold this up here and then go to pitch modulation, and here pitch bend is set to 7 semitones, and then we can increase that all the way up to 48, and then we can just say copy this to B, so for both oscillator shapes it is the same setting. And of course you can use all the other shapes as well, mix and match them as you like and change the settings or use presets. And here you see that the amplitude envelope is just as we need it as well. And of course we can also change the shape here. And so we can create very different sounds this way as well. So you have a huge range of sounds that you can create these continuous tones with. But what I also want to show you is in Meld, there is actually an oscillator shape that is particularly for this kind of approach, and that is Shepard's pie. And what I need here is just a new MIDI clip, going back to notes. I'm going to set it to C3 as well. Oh, nope. Should be 8 bars long to make sure. And then we could either turn oscillator B off, or we can also set it to Shepard's pie. And in this case, depending on what you've got the rate set to, so the rate goes from 0 to 100. At 50, it's for both just a standing note, right? But as soon as you go over 50, you can hear that it's a slowly rising note. And so basically this way you can adjust the settings as liked. You can increase the width. Let's, for example, try this with another setting so you can hear. So basically the higher you set the setting, the quicker it is the rate that it basically goes up. And what this basically does is the Shepard tone, which I'm not going to go into detail in this video. If you want a video on this, let me know. And so if you want to have like a really slow rising note, then just stick it with very close to just after 50. I'm just going to turn this off. But what's nice in this case is also that you could automate this, so you can create this sudden increase or slow increase of the speed of this. So it can create a nice feel that you can't do with the other instruments. And if you want to have a falling note, then you would just go under 50. which could be nice for an ending of a track. So yeah, that's it already. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And I'll see you next time. Until then, bye.